Hey squad, it's Jill here from Lavender and Friends, your source of essential oil education and inspiration. I wanted to do a video to share with you some of the things I learned at the Silver and Above training day. Now, this was put on 2 days before convention kicked off in Sydney, and it was actually run by Food Alchemy, which is Vanessa Jean's company. So they put it on. It was 5 of the most intense hours I think I've ever had in my life. It literally went from 12 till 5, no breaks. It was just bam, bam, bam. They had a whole heap of speakers. Each speaker spoke for about 20 minutes to half an hour. And it was intense. It was just like mind-blowingly amazing. Bit of a funny story. One of the reasons I so desperately wanted to get to Silver before convention was purely so I could actually go to this training. I'd heard how amazing it was. I wanted to be there. And then, ironically enough, the day I hit Silver, they announced that they were opening it to premiers, which was the level, the rank I was currently on. So I was like, oh, seriously, I've just worked so hard to get there, and now, anyway, it was kind of funny at the time. Honestly, I do suggest, though, that if they do it again next year, which hopefully they would, work your tushy off to get there, because it was really, really helpful. Just lots of lessons to learn. Another thing I'll mention is they were actually filming it. They did say that it would probably go up on the Food Alchemy website. I don't know when it's going to go up. It might already be up there. I'm not sure. I don't know if, you had to have a ticket or anything to see it. Not sure of the details, but they were filming it and they did say it'll be up there. And because I was sitting really close to the camera, I know it panned around. You'll probably see me a few times sitting there. But if you can watch it, I definitely recommend it. Like I said, it's 5 hours. It's pretty intense. But I'll just try and do a good little summary of it for those of you who couldn't be there. And yeah, so the first thing they had was Bliss. She came out to do a little intro, and she said something that I thought was really, I guess, relieving, if that makes sense. And she said that skills and systems can be duplicated, but you cannot. So learn and grow and take in what you can, but you don't need to change yourself. And I think that was important because it can be really overwhelming when you're sitting there watching these amazing presidential diamonds and double presidential diamonds talking about all the magic they achieve. And you can sit there and think, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna be that good. And like, seriously, I've struggled a lot with, self-doubt, and it's just quite overwhelming. So it's quite nice for her to say, just take in and what you can, but don't feel like you need to change yourself. Now, the first person they had was Sheppard. Now, Sheppard is one of the founding members of doTERRA. So when you enroll in doTERRA, you get a membership number. My one is like 418994. It's like 6 digits long, right? She's number 3. She was the 3rd person to ever join doTERRA. So she's been around a while. And she was lovely. And she was talking about the journey with the why you do it and why you share the oils. So she said that you need to share what you have, share why you love it, and then it's their choice. And I think that's an important thing to do, is that, remember, it's up to them. You share your love and your passion, and if they resonate with you, great. If not, then they don't. She also really spoke about how your success depends on you, and your success depends on your events. Events equal success. Me sitting here in front of a camera talking to you might get you interested, might get you passionate, but it might not get anyone interested in actually purchasing the oils. I still get out there, I still teach classes, and that's what gets people to, learn about the oils and gets them engaging. And so, having events and bringing the oils to people is what you're going to need to be successful. She said, you've got to always remember to speak with truth and say it from your heart. One thing she said was, with doTERRA, especially as a business, it's not a quick money earner, but it is a solid money earner. She said, you also need to teach with respect. So love them anyways. Even, you're going to come across people that you might not resonate with, love them anyways. She also spoke about how much information we give. And this is what I really kind of took to heart. Just give them what they need and what they want. Just stop the verbal vomit. It's something I'm working on myself. I know I can talk, and I'm just trying to, get more concise, say what they need, and just stop. Now, one thing she said that really, I guess, resonated with me is that Let your why be the answer to other people's issues. And again, I spoke about that when I was talking about Tara Bliss's speech at convention about how, you know, there are people praying for answers and we have them. But she also spoke about that as well. And she said, find out what is their why. Why did they come? What's their passion? Then share your why with them, what you care about, what your passion is, and connect with them. And that was something that I think is really important as well, is it's not about us, it's about, you know, the oils and how they can help that particular person. And she said as well, the two most important words are I am. So I am powerful. I am weak. I am confident. I am not confident. And she said, every day you get to decide who and what you will be. So that was quite a powerful lesson as well. Now, the next lady up was Leonie Featherstone. She was amazing. Oh my goodness. She speaks about as fast as I did. So my notes are quite frantically written down, but she was fabulous. Very, very engaging. And she talked about how you can support a new builder. The first thing she said was don't label them and take time to connect with them because it's about relationships. So it's about having a relationship with that builder and helping to support them on their journey. And she talked about the difference between hunting and farming. So we don't want to be hunting people, lining them up, bang, 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 bang. We want to be cultivating them, farming them, planting seeds, growing them, helping them. You know, it's about a long-term relationship journey. Now, she said basically what you need to do is you need to start with analyzing. So find out, you know, where they are, what they're at, building, you know, just who they are and what their passions are. You then need to come up with your action plans. So obviously, what's the next step, what they're going to do, you know, help them figure out their first steps. And then accountability. So, you know, helping them to have the systems in place to keep them accountable. She also talked about the importance of classes. She called them your little black dress. Every girl has a little black dress in their wardrobe that she can, you know, pull out. And that's what she said with the classes. We need to have our classes ready and be confident with them and get out there. She said, one of the things she spoke about was also remember that our builders are volunteers. They're there because they want to be there. They're not, you know, it's if they don't want to be there, they can leave at any time. And she also said, one thing that I loved was she said, don't be trying to carry the world. Don't feel like you have to build everyone. You have to do all the work. She said, think of yourself as a loving puppeteer. So you're the puppeteer and you've got all your builders and they're, help them to dance on the strings at their own pace. So you might have one person who's really excited, going to go fast, 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 and you can puppet them fast, fast, fast. And you might have someone who's just going nice and slow, and you just work with them, work at their pace. I thought that was a really pretty analogy as well, that you're kind of working with them at their pace. Another thing she spoke about, which I feel like, I don't know if it was spoken about a lot or if it was just something that was really sticking out to me a lot, but she also spoke about how comparison is the thief of joy. And she said, be a person first and a doTERRA person second. And I think that's important too, you know, to be a person first. And another thing she said is trust and teamwork is what keeps the wheel turning. And when you light someone else's candle, yours doesn't dim. And that's one of the things that I love about doTERRA. That's one of the reasons that I was really drawn to it, is the fact that for me to go well, I need the people below me to succeed. So I'm going to do everything I can to support them. And the people above me are doing the same for me. And it's about building up those below you, and then you too will rise as well. And I love that about this. I love that about this business. Zachariah spoke about mentoring. Now, he's a Pilates instructor and a yoga instructor, and at convention he and his beautiful wife Anastasia got up and did these little 5-minute kind of stretching breaks, which were hilarious and amazing. And his talk on mentoring was it was really beautiful, and it was really useful. And the MC, when he introduced him, said Zachariah is basically like a bottle of easy air. And it's pretty much true. He was just zen. He was just chilled out, and he was really engaging. And he spoke about how when you're mentoring, the most important thing you could do is be yourself. And your breath comes first. We start with our breath. We start with how we breathe, how we hold ourselves, and that's the first step. And he said, think of kids, think of children. They don't try to be anyone else. They don't try to know everything. They don't, kid doesn't know everything about the compensation plan. A kid doesn't know everything about, the different chemical constituents of the blends. The kids just love you. They just want to help you, and they just, suss out how you're going and see how they can help you. And so when we mentor someone, we should be like that. We should be almost like children, just see where the person's at and try to help them. And, he said, another thing as well, he said was, don't tell people what to do. Just be a mirror so they can see themselves. And it's about having clarity of vision and also, building an energy of we're going to do great things together. He said when you're mentoring, you want to get them in a positive state. So focusing on the wins. And another thing he said, which I think is so important, is acknowledge the challenges without getting caught up in it. Now, this is something that actually my husband and I learned in marriage counseling, funny enough. And one of the things we learned in marriage counseling was it's very easy to identify a problem and to identify lots of examples of the problem and keep focusing on all the different ways this problem has manifested. It's a lot harder to then figure out a solution. So when, and he kind of touched upon that as well, that identify the challenges. So go, yeah, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm struggling with. But don't sit there and list 100 ways of why this is a challenge. Go, yep, we've identified it. Now let's look at some solutions, which I thought was really nice. And he actually had a really good PowerPoint with a lot more information and details in it, and I've just got my brief notes here, not the slides. So I will try and share a bit more of that, but that's definitely what I thought was a really great speaker. Now the next guy to speak was Adam Bartlett, and his talk was if not now, then when. He was a really interesting guy when he shared a bit of a story. He was I think he was a gold ranking, and basically he and his partner had a bit of a spat about what was going to happen, and they decided to work through it and approach Diamond, and they hit Diamond in like 6 weeks or something amazing together. And he said something that I loved. I love butterflies. I actually love them because most people don't know this, butterflies are deaf. And so when I originally did my teaching degree, I wanted to be a teacher of deaf children. So I've always loved butterflies, and I've loved that fact about them. And but what he said was, when you think about transformation, for a butterfly to emerge, it must first go into the darkness. And I love that. I'm actually going to print that out as a quote because I thought it was so good. He then spoke about some different myths that we often hear around this business, and kind of why they're myths and why we kind of need to challenge them. So the first myth he said was the myth that you just go with the flow, that you just wade and drift. And what that means is you end up spending your days being reactive. You wake up because an alarm went off. You look at your phone because it beeped at you. And what that means is you're then becoming prey. So, will I get eaten today? You're a bunny rabbit, you're a little mouse, you're a little gazelle, and instead of being reactive, we should be proactive. And this is something I am very passionate about. And it's about planning what's going to happen. Set yourself goals, take action, take responsibility for yourself. And it's scary to do that because if you set a goal, you might not make it. And that's scary. But it's better than just kind of drifting through life going, oh, maybe I'll make diamond. Maybe I won't. Sometimes you have to just get off your tushy and actually do some work. And he was talking about predator animals. And basically with a predator animal like a lion or a shark, their survival depends on themselves. If they don't get out and hunt, they're not going to eat and they're not going to survive. And so they take control of their destiny. And he said sometimes we have to do that. We have to step up and take control of our destiny. Now, the second myth he said that we have to be kind of mindful of is the myth of ease and grace. So the idea that I'm doing everything with ease and grace. And he said there is some truth in it because you do want to find the path of least resistance and find your passion. So Adam is a male. He he is into crystals and healing. And so he's like, you know, if I was to teach a mums and bubs class, it would go down like a lead balloon because he doesn't know the first thing about mums and bubs, but he can teach a class about crystals and healing and, you know, astrology and tarot cards. For me personally, if you handed me a pack of tarot cards, I would probably try and build a house out of them that the children could play with because I do a lot of mums and bubs classes. So he was saying, you know, you do need to find what your passion is because you're gonna be able to communicate better if you're teaching what you're passionate about. He spoke about the oil of spikenard, which is actually the oil that Mary Magdalene used to anoint the feet of Jesus. And he said, sometimes you need to allow yourself to be honored. You need to honor your own gifts. And I think that, you know, God has given us gifts and he wants us to see them used and see them fulfilled. And it's important to kind of acknowledge that and step out in that. And it's about working with what you can and working with what you have. Now, the third myth he said was the idea that pushing is bad. So pushing or working hard is bad. And he said basically, to be a diamond, you're going to have to push yourself. You're going to have, you can have a say how you handle that pressure, but you're going to have to actually work to get it. And he was a very engaging speaker, and I did take away quite a lot from him. So the next speaker was Tanya Maidment, and she was talking about how to network successfully. So she talked about how she uses Meetup, which is kind of like a networking thing. And she was sort of saying how it's about building relationships with people and meeting like-minded people and not going in there with the goal of, right, I'm going to walk in, I'm going to sell everyone oils, but going in and wanting to find out about them as people and come up with collaborations and work with different people. And she also said, you know, always remember the importance of follow-up. Remember, it's important to, you know, when you meet someone to follow up and to keep building that relationship, not just meet them once and run away. Hayley Wiese and Anastasia, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this name wrong, Boscarello, they presented next, and they presented together, and it was about basically doing a wellness consult on your own business. So looking at what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and coming up with a game plan to move forward. So she said basically there's sort of, well, they said there's basically 3 areas. You have organization, people skills, and just getting it done. So with organization, that's kind of like your brain, you know, your organizational. She said with people skills, it's about your heart. And with getting it done, it's about your gut and trusting your gut. And the one thing that they said that really struck out to me was you can't make a map to where you want to go if you don't know where you are going. And also if you don't know where you currently are. And I think that's a very important point. If you know that you want to get somewhere, but you're not sure where you're starting out, good luck getting there. So they actually came up with a really good framework looking at assessment and engagement and also creation and just, you know, how you can actually, you know, what you need to be looking at, what you need to look at your business and figure out areas you need to work on. And they challenged us to find 3 things you can do to support yourself to rank advance. So I've written down I've actually written down 2. I haven't come up with a 3rd yet, but that's what I'll be working on. Now, the next person to speak was Adam Kopp, and he was talking about claiming rank, losing belief, and making the impossible possible. He was hilarious. He was very, very well spoken. Him and his wife are the first presidential diamonds in Europe. They actually hit presidential diamond at Christmas in December of last year. And it was actually really funny because having just gone for a new rank myself the month before, I literally thought that maybe he had like a camera hiding in my house and he'd been watching me for a month. Because when he was talking about all the phases you go through of getting a new rank, I was like, yep, did that. Yep, did that too. Yep, it was literally a summary of my month the month before. So he said, phase 1, the declaration, the I can do it phase. And you know, you get all excited and you're like, woohoo, this is amazing. And you're all like on fire. Usually day one. Phase 2 was the what did I get myself into? That's when your rank depression hits in and your rank tracker anxiety hits in. So we use a thing called rank trackers, which is where we write down we sort of write down, you know, where we're at, what we need to do to achieve our next rank. And yeah, there is a high level of anxiety when you're looking at the numbers going, this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen. He gave some strategies to deal with that. The first one was don't let your team know. Don't let them know that you're freaking out, because the fear is often in you. It's actually not in reality. And he also said, phone a friend. Talk to someone who's been there before and get someone to, you know, give you a bit of encouragement. Now, phase 3 is the Mighty Duck phase, the commitment phase, you know, like the movie The Mighty Ducks. And that's where you're like, right, we're going to do this, and you go for it. Some of the strategies he said was the proximity rule, which is basically if people aren't going to support you, don't let them around you. Surround yourself with positive people who believe in you and tell you you can achieve it. Try to get to this phase as quick as possible, because this is the phase where you're actually going to get stuff done, not just be like saying you're going to get stuff done or freaking out that you're not going to get stuff done. This is where you actually get stuff done. And use the products, use the oils. This is where you're really going to be wanting to be putting, you know, some ginger on to empower you, or putting the balance on, lots of balance to keep you nice and grounded, and some frankincense to calm the anxiety. Now, phase 4 is the crazy phase, and that's where you kind of start doing strange things. You use your oils a lot, you tend to not go out in public much, and this is a really good time to, again, phone a friend and get some support. And then phase 5 had me cracking up laughing when he said this. Phase 5 is the final push. Prepare for the final 3 to 5 days and stock up on provisions and don't get distracted. And when he said the stock up on provisions, I actually kind of had a bit of a laugh, because I knew I was going for silver, I literally did a massive cook up. I literally did a massive cook up with like a week's worth of food for the last week of the month, so I wouldn't get distracted by having to cook, and the meals were already there, and it would make life a lot easier. So I was like, yep, that's pretty much what I did. It was good fun. And finally, phase 6, the best phase, the victory. When you have achieved it and you're cheering and you're happy, that's the best phase to be in. Now, he basically said that, you know, with doTERRA, you know, the question he asked was, if you knew that at the end of 5 years of hard work, you would be retiring on $1 million a year, would you do it? And everyone thought, well, yeah, of course you would. 5 years of hard work for, you know, retirement on $1 million a year. Who wouldn't? And he's like, that's what doTERRA is going to do for you. You know, if you are willing to commit and work hard and get yourself up there, that's what you've got to look forward to. So for me, I was like, sweet, sounds good to me. Now the final thing he finished with was, how committed are you? Are you chicken committed or are you pig committed? And the reference is, are you chicken committed or pig committed in terms of, with bacon and eggs, the chicken is, you know, kind of committed. The pig is very committed. So that was a little challenge he put out that we had a bit of a giggle about. Now, then they had a panel of 3 different people to get up and speak about hustling with hearts. And the first person to speak was Jackie Iles. Now, Jackie Iles is a bit of a superstar. She did Diamond Club last year, and I believe she won it. She started Diamond Club as a gold, and by June, she had hit Blue Diamond, which is a phenomenal achievement. I have to say, I'm doing Diamond Club this year, and Jackie, she's a bit like the Diamond Club mum, to be honest. I feel like there's a Diamond Club Facebook group, obviously, for all of us that are doing it, and she's always posting the most lovely things in there. Like, she just posts really encouraging things and really supportive things. And I didn't get a chance to see her at convention, unfortunately. I did want to kind of go up and give her a hug, but I just didn't find a chance. But she really has been kind of like our mum, looking after all of us. So, Jackie, if I do see you at leadership, I will be giving you a good hug. But yeah, she spoke about redefining hustle and how the verb hustle often has very negative connotations, and people can often be a bit, you know, hustle's a dirty word. But if you look it up, it actually means a state of great activity. And it's about creating the life that you want and having grand action, grand vision, and grand heart. And she was saying the activities you do on day 1 are the exact same as you do on day 30 of a month. It's just that at the end of the month, that's when you elevate up. She said it's about mastering the simple day-to-day things, and you need to be loving and honoring the basics. Again, do the classes, know your back office, do your wellness consult. It's about those small little steps day by day that are going to get you at the end. She said basically, we are sales, we are doing sales, but we're doing sales with a service and a heart focus. Now, the next person to speak on that panel was actually Dee Howard. And she was speaking about how we need to create our actions from our hearts and set very strong intentions, and about letting go of your fears. She was talking about respecting yourself, loving yourself, listening to your heart, and connecting to your heart. She also said hustle doesn't begin at the end of the month. And the other thing she talked about as well is being yourself. And so your hustle is your own. How you hustle is up to you. It's what you believe in. Another thing she said is at the end of the month, you'll realize the energy you created for that month. So you can either celebrate because you had great energy and you succeeded, or you can maybe reflect and say, all right, well, what did we learn that we can apply for the next month? And she also spoke about being proactive, not reactive. Again, that came out again, be proactive, not reactive. And something she said that was quite funny was, when you think the possible is impossible, just put on your favorite song and dance. And I think that's important, you know, have something that when you're feeling down or flat is just gonna lift you up and get you in a positive state. And now the third person to speak was Charlie O'Connor, and she actually shared about how she actually really doesn't like the idea of hustle. But she shared a quote that I've heard before, but it's always good to hear again, and it was, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And I guess it's important to realize that, you know, how we think, whether we believe we could do something or not, is going to influence whether or not we can achieve it. She spoke about how, you know, you need to be working on yourself. If you're really stressed, you can't receive things, your creativity becomes blocked. You want to be doing things because they're fun and they're joyful and they're enjoying them. And you're enjoying them, not because you're like, oh my God, I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this. You know, you want to do the stuff that makes you happy. Another thing she spoke about was looking after herself and having a long-term goal. So she shared that she got really burnt out and how she, you know, she built herself up to a rank, but it wasn't sustainable and she was stressed and running right. And she kind of had to let go and just go, you know what? I'm not going to focus on hitting that rank this month or the next month, but the month after. And so she took her time and built herself up slowly. And then when she did achieve that rank, she didn't have that frenzied panic. It just, it was natural and joyful. And I think that was really quite relevant for me because I hit a high rank quite quickly last year in July. Like it just, you know, everything happened and it was wonderful. And then I fell back and I really struggled to kind of get back up to where I was. And I found it quite disheartening. But looking back, there were a couple of things that were out of my control and, you know, things like my grandfather passing away, which meant I did nothing for a whole month. And so, whereas now when I'm hitting that rank, I'm hitting it fairly consistently and it's not a stressful, frantic, you know, oh my gosh, am I going to make it? It just kind of happens. And so I really took to heart what she said about having a long-term goal and kind of not just working month to month to month, but having a more long-term plan to help you, you know, build yourself up to where you want to be. And another thing she said as well is being committed every day, not just at the end. So again, it's about working just as hard on the first day as you do on the last day. Now, the next person to come up was probably the person I was the most excited to see speaking, and that was the glorious Hayley Hobson. I did actually get to meet her afterwards. She was divine and such a sweetheart and took a photo with me. And she was a really wonderful speaker. It's quite easy to see how she's been so successful. She's very captivating. And she was talking about the relationship journey. And she basically spoke about, what do you do when someone doesn't like you? It hurts. It does hurt. But what do you do? And especially in a business, when we are in a business of working with other people, what do we do when that happens? And she said, you know, it's okay if people don't like you. Not everyone's going to like you. You have to accept that. What's not okay is if you treat them badly or you're still not supportive of them. And she said, it's not your problem if someone doesn't like you and you are being your best self. If you're not being your best self and someone doesn't like you, then you probably should look at your behavior. But if you are doing the best you can and being the best you can and someone still doesn't like you, then that's probably their problem, not yours. She also spoke about how our genealogy doesn't dictate who we connect with. So when I refer to genealogy, I mean literally who you're enrolled under you know, in doTERRA, we put people under each other. And, you know, maybe you don't necessarily connect to the person directly above you or someone directly below you, and that's okay. You might connect to someone else. Who you are involved by doesn't dictate who you actually connect with. And she said a really beautiful way to build a bridge is to simply say to someone, are you open to starting again? And just build that bridge, and also to say genuinely, I'm sorry. Not, I'm sorry you took that way, or I'm sorry you feel upset by what I said, but just to genuinely say, I'm sorry, and to apologize to them. And the thing she said as well is, if you've apologized genuinely and they don't want to reconnect, then you just have to let it go. They can walk their journey and you can walk yours. She also spoke about how what we think, how we can choose a different thought to give us another feeling. So for example, we have a circumstance, we have a thought that may or may not be true. This leads to how we feel. Our feelings then, you know, dictate our actions, and our actions will give us our results. So our thoughts create our feelings create our actions, and our actions create results. So often your problems and your dramas can actually all be inside your head, and it's up to you to use your brain to control your brain. She said we all have similar circumstances, it's just how we choose to think about it. And that's actually something my husband says to me quite a lot. Like, you can't control the circumstances, but you can control how you react to them. This is usually when I'm having a bit of a tantrum about something really quite stupid. He likes to bring that up. But it is true. It is true that we can't necessarily control what's affecting us, but we can control how we're going to react to it and how we're going to behave in that situation. And she said, another quote that I loved was, you can't change the wind, but you can rearrange the sails. Then the MC got up and made a very funny comment about Hayley Hobson is just being in total control of herself. Being in total control of herself, which I thought was hilarious if you spell it out. Now, the next person to speak was the fabulous Bliss. She spoke about navigating goal discrepancy in your team. And she was talking about how, what do you do when basically those that are in your team don't have the same vision as you? So say you want to go for diamond, you want to, you know, be amazing, and then you've got a team full of people who kind of just maybe want to share once in a while and maybe have a class, and, you know, they're not really like, yeah, gung-ho. Or maybe it's the flip side. Maybe you're just kind of chilling and cruising and you've got a team that's like, let's go, let's do 50 classes a month. And you're like, whoa. So she said that we have our own innate power, and it's time that we actually step up and reclaim it. And this business is a matter of mindset rather than a matter of people management. She said, the first thing she said as well, which I loved, was, I want zero tolerance. Zero tolerance, no more victim language for yourself. People who are like, oh, my upline doesn't support me. She was like, well, do you have Wi-Fi? Go YouTube Jesse Reamer's videos. Go YouTube Hayley Hobson videos. If you have Wi-Fi, you can go to YouTube and you could probably watch any training video by anyone who is a presidential diamond, and you will gain heaps of information. So that's not an excuse. And she said as well, is your pursuit for ease currently a substitute for the actions that are your responsibility? So you're just basically taking the easy way out. Now, she also said, a lot of times there's this idea that we don't want to enable people. We don't want to do things for them because we're enabling them and we're not actually helping them. And she was like, no, sometimes you're going to have to do that. Sometimes you're going to have to build someone up to help them, to give them that start. And she said something I thought was beautiful, and it was, the worst distance between two people is a misunderstanding. And I think that's very true. And I think it's very easy that if you're not communicating clearly, you can have misunderstandings. And another one she said another quote was, who hurt you? And the answer was, my own expectations. And I think, you know, people are going to change their mind. And if you build in your mind someone to be something they're not going to, then really it's your own fault if you feel let down by that. Another quote she said by Pat Allen, which is something I personally, oh my gosh, preach it, sister, was, you have leaving rights, but you do not have complaining rights. And I agree, because nothing drives me more insane than someone who is whinging about how they can't fit in their pants and they're getting really fat as they're eating a cupcake. Like seriously, you can either do something about it or just, you know, you have a choice. You can do something about it or just don't sit there and whinge about it, like actually do something. And she said, you know, you can accept people and love people or you can just move along. Don't make excuses. Another thing she was saying is sometimes if you feel like you're on a plateau, like you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm stuck, it's actually because you're on the edge of something beautiful, which I thought was quite nice. And she said another thing to remember is when things maybe aren't going as well as you like, that you need to remember that it is your leadership challenge, not their behavioral issue. Which I thought was quite powerful as well, because again, it's about that shifting that blame of, oh, it's someone else's fault to accepting responsibility and claiming your own power back. Now, the next person to speak was actually Alice Nichols, who may possibly be my new girl crush. She was amazing. She almost ran out of time, which I was devastated because I was like, no, keep talking. And she spoke about having doTERRA above the line and ascending in business and in life. And she was speaking about how it's about you, it's about taking ownership. And the thing she said is when things happen, as adults, we often have our first subconscious thought, which is our negative thought, our repeller thought, or, you know, the devil on the shoulder, the mean thought that, and she said, our goal when that happens is to not act on it, not to ignore it, but to train ourselves not to act on it. Our second thought should then be the better thought. So the example she gave, which is one I'm sure anyone who's ever done any form of network marketing, is someone cancels a class. And your first thought is, oh, great. But that's our negative thought. And then our next thought should be, okay, so why did this cancel? How can I help her? Is her little one sick? Did people not show up? And just try to work through it in a positive way rather than just being like, negative about it. Another thing she said is oftentimes we like to try and we self-sabotage. So we often will minimize our risk of to minimize our risk of rejection. We'll often just not invite people, or we'll not really follow up, because if we don't follow up with them, then they can't say no. Or if we don't actually invite them, they can't say no. Another thing she said was placing unrealistic expectations on your business will kill it, which is very true. I think, you know, if you have these, and there's nothing wrong with having amazing goals, and it's important to dream big and to set yourself goals. But if they are unrealistic, what will happen is, if you don't achieve them, then you get disheartened and you just give up. You just go, oh, it's too hard, I can't do this, you know. So sometimes it is important to take a step back and be realistic about your goals. Another thing she spoke about, which I loved, was why deny what you do? So if you sell doTERRA essential oils, you sell doTERRA essential oils, you are a salesperson. And there's a lot of, I guess, negative connotations around the word sales. And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to be a salesperson, I don't want to be pushy. But that's not what we're about. Like, it's not about being a pushy salesperson, but the reality is we do sell the essential oils. And one thing she said, which I thought was quite interesting, is if you're constantly telling people, oh, we don't sell, we're not salespeople, and then you start to have people joining your team who say they want to build a business but then don't want to sell, then maybe you kind of set that expectation up for them. For me personally, my parents did a network marketing business when I was young, and so I've always viewed sales as quite a positive thing because it's just been a part of my upbringing. But I know that that's a big issue for a lot of people, so I did want to share that because she said, you know, if you are telling people we don't sell, you're actually lying to them, and that's not fair for them. You're not giving them realistic expectations. And she said, at the end of the class, literally say, turn to this page, fill out this. People want the guidance. They want you to tell them what to do. And, you know, you are there to guide them. She gave this beautiful analogy, which I loved, was she said, I don't go to a yoga studio and pay $20 to then, you know, just have the instructors say, do whatever you like. Just make some poses up. Like, I pay my money to go to a yoga class, to have a yoga instructor tell me this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it. So when people come to our classes, they want us to tell them about the oils. They want us to tell them how to use them and what to do. And at the end, they want us to direct them in how to get these oils. And I thought that was quite a beautiful analogy. And another thing she said was to always say yes and be willing to get uncomfortable, which I think is, you know, this business does stretch you and it does grow and it does push you to different places. So I think that was an important thing to say. And yeah, she ran out of time and I wish she could have spoken for longer because she was amazing. But that's definitely one I would really suggest having a watch of if you can find, when the videos come out on the Food Alchemy website. Now, last up was the beautiful Vanessa Jean. She did some meditation work with us and some oils work with us. As always, listening to her is just, it's like listening to one of those amazing meditation CDs where she just talks and you just feel so calm. So she was lovely. And obviously a huge thank you to her and her team for putting on the amazing training day. Now, I've tried to summarize what was basically 5 hours of intense amazingness into a very, probably not that short video. So I probably haven't done it as good justice as just watching the videos yourself, but I do hope you have found this useful. Now, if you have any questions or if you'd like to learn a bit more about the business side of things, maybe you're a member of my team and you've been inspired and would like to learn more, or maybe you're a member of someone else's team, please feel free to be in touch with me or anyone else about doTERRA. You're always welcome to visit my website, which is www.lavenderandfriends.com, or send me a message. And I will also mention again, at the moment, I am currently looking for an elite position to fill. One of my elite leaders has had to step down due to personal family reasons. And so I am looking for someone to take that position. To take that position, you can't already be enrolled in doTERRA. You do have to be a new person. But if that is something you'd like to do, or maybe you know someone who might be interested, all the information about that is currently in a pinned post at the top of my page. Now, I am saying this in mid-March, so if you're watching this video, mid-March 2018, so if you're watching this video and it's like September 2018, I kind of hope the position's still not available, but just, you know, putting it out there now because I really hope and I'm praying that the right person's going to step up and join with me. That's all for now, and hope you have a good evening.